jealous of going down there.
Good afternoon, everybody. We are outside here on a gorgeous fall day here in Pagosa Springs, and we are going to be spotlighting one of our most recent and unique places here in Pagosa Springs. We've had several of this owner's businesses on our spotlight series in the past couple weeks or month, and this is just another one of this resident's contribution to Pagosa Springs. So we are outside. We've got a little bit of street noise and whatnot because we are downtown in the brand new Tennyson Sculpture Garden and Park. And we are excited to be here. As you can see behind me, we have this beautiful event stage area. Actually, the Chamber of Commerce was lucky enough to be the recipient of being able to host a very small event back during Colorfest. And we have some other sculptures around us. So what I'd like to do is talk to the owner of the sculpture garden, and she's going to describe the sculpture garden, some of the sculptures within it, and tell us the history of this beautiful park. So with no further ado, let's talk to owner Evelyn Tennyson, who is the owner of this beautiful new Tennyson Sculpture Garden and Park. Evelyn, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Mary Jo. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, Evelyn, you know, we did a ribbon cutting for this park earlier this summer. We're standing on, in many residents' views, an iconic piece of ground because it housed one of the not only some office space, but one of the old-time bars here in Pagosa Springs. So we are on the corner of Lewis and Highway 160, but it's completely transformed from where we had the adobe. Do you want to try and tell us a little bit of the history of this space and how we came to this beautiful, beautiful park?
Well, as you well know, the buildings that were here burned down several years ago. It was originally the adobe, which I believe was an old hotel, had an old bordello there a long time ago. And then it was Bear Creek, if I remember correctly. And they had a fire and the entire building and the restaurant burned down. And that opened up this fabulous view to Two Old Crows across the street. So I played with the owners of the building. It was a HOA, I guess you'd call it. And they finally agreed that they would sell the property to me. Initially, it started out, I didn't want another building blocking access to the businesses on Lewis Street. So then it was, okay, I have this land, now what do I do with it? So my husband had passed away back at 17, and I thought, what better thing to do than to build a park in his memory. We always wanted to retire here, and unfortunately he didn't get to retire. He was still working when he passed away. So everything that's in here was designed with him in mind. I first got Kate Yaklovich was my landscape architect and had her come up with a plan. And then I went out and I tried to source sculptures that I thought Mike would actually like. So the first one I got was one over there called Wind Eagle. And that was actually from an artist in Florida. I happened to have a home in Florida at the time. And he did, you know, I told everybody, told them a little bit about Mike, and I said, come up with an idea for me of something that now that you know a little bit about him that you would think he would like. So he designed Wind Eagle. And then I got, and his name was Dustin Miller. And then I got with Jim Ferrari, and Jim actually knew Mike. So when I tasked him with coming up with the sculpture, he came up with Antler Shed. and that is a large antler. It's not a hand. It was funny. We had so many thoughts while it was covered up of what it could possibly be, but it is a deer antler. And it's not supposed to specify necessarily deer that are around Colorado or in Pagosa, but it was just Mike's love of the animal. He never hunted deer, but he loved deer. Then one of our artists at the gallery was, or is still, Dave Lemure. And I talked to him about Mike, and Mike loved to fly fish. And we came up with the San Juan trout, which, as you know, they thought was extinct for a long time here. And there are some little things buried and hidden in there that relate to Mike. So that was another sculpture that we did. And then Chad Haspel did the blue heron, because Mike and I would spend a lot of time up at Williams, and I guess there's a lot of blue heron up at Williams. So he came up with that beautiful sculpture. The crows actually came from the gallery. They were outside of the front of the building, and we moved them over here. Chad cast them in bronze for me, so we have them. The tree, Metamorphosis, I have a niece that lives in Dallas, and she is an artist, and when she heard I was doing the park, she really wanted to do something special for Mike. So it's a tree of life. And let's see, and then we have over here, we have Ross Bearable, did our titanium bell, and he also did, there's a gong over there and a wind harp. And when the wind is just right, wind harp plays. And very last but not least is Donna Merchant Cross. And she lost her partner, I believe it was a couple of months after Mike, or before Mike. And so this one is We Still Watch the Sunsets. And I think that's just a very poignant, it's like the person may be gone in your life, but if you still feel them, they're still there with you. So that's why this park was created. I had some absolutely awesome contractors. I had a general contractor, it was Andre Redstones. He kind of took over everything for me. I had Kate as the landscape architect, Chris Rapp as the landscaper. I had CT Electric. I had the concrete guys. There were so many of them. There is a plaque here thanking everybody. But there wasn't one person that I ended up being disappointed in. And they were all local and fabulous.
Well, I think that's just amazing that you were able to get so many local artisans in their own right. You know, plumbers and landscapers and builders are artisans in their own right to contribute to this beautiful contribution of art. I don't think, certainly this is privately owned, and it is open to the public. Do you want to tell us a little bit about open to the public? Come and see, come and stroll.
It is. It's open to the public 24 hours a day, except I don't think you want to be here in the dark. We do have some lights. We have cameras, but you might want to stay out of the park in the pitch black. But it is open. Right now we have, the grass is blocked off and things like that. It was, as you said, we did the ribbon cutting June 29th. So everything in here, all the vegetation is still very new, very young. So we're trying to let that grow up a little bit. But next summer, we want to try to host some bands in the park. If anybody wants to get married on the stage, they can do that. We just, even though it's in memory of Mike, it's for the town of Pagosa. I would never just build something and block it off and no one can actually enjoy it. So you can walk on the grass.
Eventually. When it takes root.
Wait till next summer, please. But if anybody is interested in renting the park, I don't know what we're going to rent it for. It'll be cheap. We have electricity. Just go see the guys over at Two Old Crows and they'll put you in contact with me. We have a food truck in the parking lot. It's gone today because of an event tonight. But we're also hosting on Saturday mornings the farmers market. And they've been here, I think this weekend is going to be their last weekend. but they said they'll be back next year. So
It's awesome.
they've been absolutely loving the location.
I bet when I drive down on Saturdays, I certainly see a big crowd in the parking lot and here in the park. You know, not meant to embarrass you or anything, but Evelyn, you have been honored with Citizen of the Year before for your philanthropic endeavors here in Pagosa Springs, all the different things that you do with the various organizations and the sponsorship that you do either personally or through Two Old Crows. And I will say, I think this is the greatest contribution that you have made to Pagosa Springs. There are few communities that can boast this open space. Does this park have room to grow as far as art is concerned, or is what is here going to remain, or will you have any traveling shows, or do you have what kind of plans do you have for the garden?
The art that's here now will stay here. I own the art, but I would like in the future to be able to get some traveling artists that want to display something. I know they do that a lot in other states, and we certainly have room. And that's not to say I won't go stick another piece of art out here. Anytime I see anything that interests me, it's like, oh, that could go to the park.
Sure.
So, but I would love to do art shows. We did an art show in the in the parking lot. Was it in July? And it was a huge success for the artists that were involved. It was small, but it really worked. Sometimes I think when you get something bigger, it's hard because you can't go and really enjoy all of the art. This way, you had the advantage of the art that was in the parking lot, and then you could come and walk around here and see some other sculptures. And I think people really enjoyed that. But we would like to do some traveling art. You know, obviously we'll have to lock it up at night, but unless it weighs 3,000 pounds, and it can stay.
Won't be moved.
But we'll definitely do things. This was the first year. I wanted to try to honestly keep people off the grass until the grass grew, and it looks like it's doing really well. All my little brown spots are gone. So we will definitely do some things next summer.
Great. Well, any last words of wisdom or anything you'd like to share about the Tennyson Sculpture Garden and Park?
Well, we had a lady that wrote a review for us, and she said that she's from California, and she said that there was not one park there that could match up to this one. She thought it was fabulous, and I thought that was just the kindest thing. So things like that really pay off.
Well, thank you again on behalf of the community, and I hope that a lot of people watching this segment, if you have not been down here to the downtown area, please come down and visit the park and stroll and take a look and find all the hidden gems that are around here. Stop and listen to the wind harps that are here. It's really a magical place, and thank you again for bringing this wonderful gem to our community and for all that you do in our community.
Thank you, Mary Jo.
And thank you, everybody, for joining us again on this very special segment of our Spotlight on Our Businesses here in Pagosa Springs. Again, there's a story behind every business, and we hope that you gain something from these segments in either running your own business or contributing to our community here in Pagosa Springs. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you again next week.